Who are you blaming for this one, Saquon or Sirianni?
It's unquestionably, unequivocally Nick Sirianni. I don't want to hear it was there. The scheme didn't work. The reason you don't pass there is because drops happen. That's why, fumbles happen too. There have been 60 drops in the league through 2 weeks. There have been 29 lost fumbles, but it's worse than that because drops can only happen on passing plays. Fumbles can happen on literally every play. So you're about 4 times as likely to have a drop than a fumble. It is not the same risk. It is very simple what you do there. You run the ball on 3rd down. If you don't pick it up, if we're really being smart, you run it on 4th down again, and by doing that, you guarantee your worst case scenario is you go to overtime. Let's just play it out with me. You run, you run. By doing that, let's say you fail, you fail. There is now 55 seconds. Atlanta is inside their own 3. You're up 3 points. There is no world where that ends with them going 98 yards for a touchdown. Justin Jefferson's not walking through that door. If they get in field goal range, they're kicking a field goal. Instead, and by the way, how far from field goal range are they if they're inside their own 5? About 60. Well, guess what? You did that. You gave them an extra 40 seconds. You then kicked it through the end zone, which makes them 70 from beating you. 60 from tying is your worst case scenario with 60 seconds left. Instead, you said, you know what? Let's make the worst case scenario 70 from losing with 100 seconds left. It's malfeasance. It's awful. It's indefensible. And it came from a coach who all day long was seemingly spinning a wheel in his head on 4th down decisions. Early in the game, we're going for it. Middle of the game, we're a little conservative. Now we're going for it again. And then in the biggest decision of the night, after you made that pass call, you lost your mettle. Go for it there and try to end the game there. And again, be in a situation where if Atlanta gets in field goal range, they're super conservative, they kick the field goal, and you're the better team going to overtime. You created the only world that could exist where you lose the game in regulation, and it's totally foreseeable. The moment they sent out the field goal team, you said, Brew, I'm sure, well, 1:45 left, Kirk Cousins, hey, got to go 70 yards. You're not saying they're a favorite, but it's like, they could do this and just beat you. 4-down territory the whole time. Yeah. That's bad coaching. So, yeah, it's Sirianni, not Saquon.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't agree with you saying there's no world in which they march, 97 yards?
In less than a minute with no timeouts?
No, it could happen. I mean, a lot of people didn't think what happened would happen.
Okay.
So I agree they should have run. They were averaging 5 yards a carry.
You probably just
almost 200 yards rushing that all night. If you don't get it on the 3rd down, do the tush push.
Right.
Which was working all night, even with Jason Kelce in the booth. Okay. That said, and you guys know, I love this guy.
Oh, wow.
Catch the football. Nick, you're right. They should have run. But catch the football. Saquon Barkley is a good receiver. I know he's had drops in his career.
CMC-esque.
But he still is a very good receiver. The first game against Green Bay made a great catch for a touchdown. This is a catch that most high school running backs would make. This is a catch that Saquon would make 99 out of 100 times at least. Okay. You have got to catch the football. And Nick, yes, the probability of a fumble is not as great as a drop, but you need players to execute no matter what you call. You could call a run, and he could fumble. You could call the tush push, and they could mess up the snap. Like, stuff just happens. And again, Saquon was great all night. In fact, I was actually ready to come, and I'm thinking this during the game. I was like, oh, man. Tomorrow, I'm not only going on the show and saying, yeah, I told you he could be Christian McCaffrey. I would say he's been better than Christian McCaffrey until he dropped the football. And look, hopefully he can recover and it doesn't mess with him mentally. But, Nick, you got it.
I agree. It's a bad drop.
And if you catch it, they win the
game. But it's like in tennis, the difference between an unforced error and a forced error. Sirianni doesn't have guys chasing him. Sirianni doesn't have sweat on his hands. Sirianni's job is to put his team in the best position to win. And he didn't do it. Saquon throughout the night did his job and then in one spot screwed it up. Sirianni, 20 minutes prior, wasn't ripping off long runs. He was running down the sideline to make sure he got to celebrate with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on camera after the big fourth down stop. He made sure to do that. This is bad coaching, and this is indicative of a team that finds ways to grab losses from the jaws of victory. Can we show you what they've been since week 15 last year? The rest of the league, you're up in the final 2 minutes, you win 90% of the time. The Eagles win 40% of the time. Can't put that on Saquon. That's a coaching problem. And I just don't find them to be run in a serious manner. And I didn't love, I'll add this, I don't know how you guys feel, them saying after the game, oh yeah, none of the coaches talked after. It was where they said that after the game, it was Jalen addressed the team and all that. No. You know what coach needs to talk? Dan Campbell screwed up the clock at the end of the first half in his game. He's weeping at the podium saying, I cost my team the victory. Your head coach cost your team the game. Sirianni's at the podium. If you're not talking to the players, evidently, because they're a player-run team, explaining himself like, well, they didn't have any timeouts, but with the incompletion, they did, and we thought making no sense. Like, that's...
Look, you're making sense, but let's not overcomplicate things.
Yeah, run the ball.
You got to catch the football. If you run, you can still fumble. You talked about sweat on his hands, being tired from it. Well, if sweat on his hands, maybe he'd fumble the snap, the handoff.
But one is so much more likely than the other.
That's not likely. A 2-yard reception by a good receiver, by a Pro Bowl running back is not likely. You catch that ball.
It was when I saw him rolling, I was like, oh, this is a weird play. This is a weird decision. And the drop certainly seems now in hindsight like the wrong call. But he literally just got to the one on that play in the third quarter. It's the one that then they push in for the touchdown. It's there. It's
right,
open.
That's how, exactly.
It's a simple catch, like Bruce said, a high school player can make.
Before we move on, let's do your favorite thing. Raheem Morris on the other sideline.
Yes.
What is he when they're about to snap the ball on third down, is he hoping and praying that this is a run or a pass by Philly?
You're probably right.
He's
but you know what else?
It's a pass.
When that ball is in the air, you know what Raheem Morris is saying?
We've lost. Yes,
it's over.
He's saying we've lost.
Because
Agreed.
I expect Saquon Barkley, a Pro Bowl receiver, to catch the ball.
We all expect him to catch it, but your 98 percentile outcomes of running the football is your worst case is it's 4th and 5 with a minute left and you make a decision. Your 1 in 10 chance of negative outcomes if you throw the ball is exactly that. These
are professional players at the highest level. You shouldn't play the game thinking they can't make plays.
But you should play the game thinking, have we done enough to win if I don't screw it up as the coach? Can we just get on the bus with the win? Or they're at home. I guess there's no bus, but can we just get the win? And they were there.
Yeah.
And they created a scenario where instead of the worst case scenario being we're going to overtime, a likely scenario was we lose in regulation. And I just think it's terrible coaching.
All right, well, let's zoom out here about the Eagles, Brew. Philly on the road against the undefeated, can't-be-stopped Saints next week. Your Eagles.
My Eagles?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd I pick to win in NFC?
They're just one of your teams.
Okay.
You need a team. You need a team.
They're my Eagles, like the Cowboys or Nick's Cowboys.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, but you need a team in the NFC East, and they're not your team.
They're going to win the NFC East.
You famously put on shades and declared something over.
Yeah.
Oh.
So here's another Brew montage. Take a look.
Oh, really?
I told you. The funk is over.
Oh, I disagree.
Now, whether it's Saquon or something else, the funk's over.
Okay, I thought we were going to have more of that, but that's is what it is. Brew, are you standing by that statement?
I listened to the broadcast last night, and I heard Nick's favorite player, the center that can't be replaced, the center who the tush push would vanish, not be successful anymore because he's not playing. Jason Kelsey. In the booth, say they exorcised whatever the problems were last year. So if you don't believe me, believe Jason Kelsey.
Did you feel like he was an unbiased observer?
Absolutely. I think he's a professional.
I think he's great. I think he did a great job.
Outside of the green sweatsuit green suit as well. No, but
and the skit funk, with Big Dom
I stand by the funk is over.
Okay.
All right, the funk, that was not a funk last night. That was some coaching errors. Yeah. That was a missed play by a great running back. And Vic Fangio, the defense, I thought on that last drive wasn't good. Their defense hadn't been playing. They're though.
Could this have restarted it?
Absolutely.
Oh, well.
Like, no. That loss last night, that type of loss could resurrect the funk. So they are I'm not saying they're there yet. They're on funk watch.
Okay.
The Eagles are on funk watch.
Right.
And here's the thing about the funk. It's not just a loss or a win. When they were 10-1, and every week it was like, what's wrong with the Eagles? And they're talking, man, they were in the funk then. There was a supernatural funk even though they were winning.
Yeah.
Okay? The funk is listlessness. The funk is lack of effort. The funk is lack of resiliency and fight. Low energy. That's what you should look for. And they got New Orleans and Tampa Bay coming up. We'll know in short order. Those are two teams they can beat, but those are two teams that could beat them. Let's watch the body language and how they play. I'm serious. They're on funk watch. The funk is over.
I think I'm going to surprise you, Wilds.
Okay.
I think Brew is kind of right that the supernatural funk is over. And the reason I say kind of right is because it never existed.
How dare you?
Guys, there was never some mythical thing. It's actually very simple. It was bad defense, quarterback turnovers, and poor coaching. That's what happened to the Eagles last year. So let's check in on the Eagles this year. How's the defense that was bottom 5 across the board last year? How is it this year? Well, it's bottom 5 across the board. The quarterback, who came in second in MVP voting by taking care of the football last year, was a turnover machine. This year, how is Jalen Hurts doing when it comes to turnovers? Well, you'll see, there we go. Oh, so last year is third most picks and fourth most turnovers. This year, early, third most picks, second most turnovers. Last year, we just dealt with the coaching. We called it a funk. It wasn't. It's not confusing. They had a bad defense, and the quarterback gave the ball away. And they assigned it to, no, guys, nothing. We lost our spirit because our security guard, who is now starring in pregame skits on ESPN with Jason Kelsey, was banished for a week. And he's not allowed to have Sirianni's back because we're a serious organization. Don't worry, guys. Our defense is fixed. Why? Well, we brought in 2 rookies to play corner and safety, one of whom has been quite good. The other of whom, when he got on the field last night, Troy Aikman was like, oh, there's Cooper DeJean for the first time all game. Oh, but don't worry, we're going to sign Devin White to fix our linebackers, who was a healthy scratch yesterday. Oh, offensively, it was too much A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. We just stole Jahan Dotson. Oh, a former first-round pick. Yesterday would have been a good time for him with A.J. Brown out.
Yeah.
He had 25 routes run, 1 catch, 6 yards. It's not confusing what happened with the Eagles. Bad defensive teams that are poorly coached, whose quarterback turns the ball over, lose, which is why they are now on 2 months of this list, which is the worst teams in football. Carolina just benched their quarterback. The Jags are a disaster. I will admit it. Washington drafted a quarterback number 2. And Philly. It's not confusing. It's not supernatural. We don't need to call the exorcist. They're bad. They've been bad for half a season.
They're not bad. But they're 1-1. Wilds, tell him about
We can't put all that stuff on a bar.
It just has to be a supernatural funk. You can't put a
Supernatural
whole
funk encompasses a lot of
Yeah,
it.
it's all.
Do we have a single piece of evidence that this is a good football team that's not from before last Thanksgiving? As Wilds tweeted when the Jags lost.
Actually, we do.
What?
One, they beat the Packers, and I'm not even talking about. I'm not even talking about me picking them to the Super Bowl. Packers look like a good team, right? The end of last year,
I don't know. They
the
could
playoffs.
Okay, sure.
And they lost.
That game was so weird.
Okay.
Bottom line, they won that game.
Right. Yeah. So like they have a really good win, like the Patriots do.
Number two, they should have. Now they lost. But they should have, we all know they should have won yesterday. And I'm not defending Sirianni.
So, but,
all right, hold on.
Let's flip it. They should have lost week 1 and they should have won yesterday. So they're still 1-1.
Okay, 1-1, fine.
Yeah.
But Sirianni should be on the hot seat. And I agree with a lot of what you just said about his coaching.
Yeah.
But look, they were a 4-win team when he took over. They've been in the playoffs the 3 years since, including a trip to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts was a quarterback that many people thought would never even be a legitimate starter in the NFL.
More people are starting.
No, they're not questioning. They might be questioning, is he a star? But they're not questioning, can he be a starter?
That's fair.
Because I thought he actually played well last night for the most part.
And he is listen, I thought he played really well because he was running the ball again, and that's what makes him special. But the other part of this that's kind of being lost in their second to last possession is that last possession, they have the ball on their own 43 with an excellent kicker with a timeout.
I agree.
That was a bad play.
Down 1. What with 27 seconds? Wilds. They need 14 yards to get to career long range, 20 yards for it to be. Everyone in the kickers in the league this year basically haven't missed 50-plus yarders except for Justin Tucker, who's missed both of his. They need 20 yards in 27 seconds with a timeout.
Very doable.
And Hurts goes hero ball.
Yeah,
like that's the other piece.
I agree with that.
I thought he
was a
played
bad
really
decision.
well for 59 and a half minutes and then an inexplicable
They had a
decision.
legitimate
They could have
shot.
stolen it back.
Absolutely.
They could have stolen it right back. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.